Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers. It is time for the end of the year, and you know what that means, where I do my ranking of my top 5 favorite movies of 2022. Now, this was a difficult list to do, and over the course of 2022, I was quite worried because there weren't many movies to begin with that were impressing me. Thankfully, I managed to find a good handful that I did like in the end. But yeah, I was worried. I was like, God, what's going to happen at the end of the year when I do my list? But no, I'm confident now that I've found 5 movies that I can safely say are my favorite of the year. And like my previous rankings, this is just subjective. It's only my opinion. I'm not gonna force you to love these films. You don't have to love them. That's fine. But if we could just please be civil in the comments, that would be great. I'm not having any nastiness or hostility. The list is not objective, it's subjective. So deal with it. And we can have a civil discussion down below. Also, I'm not going to do full in-depth thoughts because I've done reviews for all of these films. So these will be digest opinions. And I hope that you enjoy the list. Okay, so number 5. Taking the number 5 spot as my 5th favourite movie of the year. The biggest surprise of 2022, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This movie, I only saw it recently, so it's not had a lot of time to sink in, but I'm quite possibly blown away by what I've seen. It really is a fantastic spectacle. The animation is so good. It reminds us that stop motion animation really is an art form that has been lost over the last few years, and we really do need we really do need more films like this because it's so beautifully done. It's weird, it's obscure. Well, it's very Guillermo del Toro, as you would expect. But this version of Pinocchio, I mean, was way better than the fucking crappy Disney one that came out earlier this year. And the reason for that is because it develops the characters. It has emotional storytelling, and the story, it just has a lot more depth than what you would expect. The only thing perhaps working against it is that it is a little bit slow. There are some filler scenes in the story, perhaps some plot elements that are focused, like additional plot elements that are focused on a little bit too much, but the performances are all fantastic. The music is beautiful. You will almost cry at this film. It is that beautiful. Thank God that I'm able to watch it on Netflix again. You know, it's a shame that I couldn't see it in the cinema because I think it would have looked fantastic on the big screen and sounded fantastic. And it's got a lot of relatable themes, but I shan't go on anymore. I will let the review go further into detail. But yeah, suffice to say, it's got an all-star cast and it's a fabulous production. Guillermo del Toro and co. should be very, very proud. Number 4 is also a film I saw recently, and it's The Banshees of Sharon. Yes, The Banshees of Sharon. Oh, what a film. This movie is not for the faint-hearted. It's quite dark. It's quite dramatic. And this film is actually a pure metaphor for the Irish Civil War, in the sense that the whole thing is pointless. You know, that these two central protagonists started this rivalry for no apparent reason because one finally decided that he didn't like the other guy, and then it escalated into this unnecessary conflict, which sort of didn't really resolve itself, but came to a compromise with the potential for it to continue, which is a little bit bizarre, but when you break it down, it actually makes for a kind of fun and engaging premise, if albeit dark and strange and weird, and there's definitely a commentary on mental health, so there's something in that. So the story may not work for everybody, it is quite out there. I think it's one of those films that's a bit of an acquired taste, but I really enjoyed it, and I liked the intimacy of it, the fact that it was set on this remote island, and it was very, how can I put it, secluded, and I know Sharon's not necessarily a real location, as far as I've been told, but it is a beautiful location. Wherever they shot this film, it is gorgeous. This has some of the best cinematography I've seen all year, and they should be proud of this film. And if you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus, so go and watch it. It's a really great film, and I'm so sad I missed it in the cinema because it would have looked so good. If there's still a screening, I might go and watch it in the cinema because it looks visually beautiful, and the direction is superb. The script is great. There are a couple of funny lines in there. And all the characters do have a lot of hearts, and they do have very emotional storylines. And, you know, I mean, Colin Farrell's character, his protagonist, is an interesting character. And I think as well, if you're Irish, I don't know if this is true, but this might resonate with you somewhat. Kind of like the film Belfast, I suppose, but it's way more darker and more mature than Belfast. I mean, Belfast has a little bit more of a light-hearted tone, but yeah, the Banshees of Sharon is a great time, and it's just the right length, that 1 hour 50 minutes. So I think you should definitely go and see it. And I like how it looks very close to the period of 1920s Ireland, and all the costumes and the sets look really good. So yeah, sometimes it's nice to watch a film with an intimate scale. So yeah, definitely catch it if you can. Okay, number 3, Blonde. Yes, Blonde. This may not be everybody's choice, but I really like this film. I thought it was fantastic. It is very long. It is nearly 3 hours long, but it never felt that long to me. And Ana de Armas is kind of an unusual choice because she's not American, and at times her American accent does slip, but you can kind of forgive that because this film is harrowing. They treated it like a horror film and totally victimized Marilyn Monroe, which I guess is in a way true to some degree. I mean, she never led a blameless life, of course, and she did mistreat a lot of people around her, but her life was surrounded by, well, according to this film anyway, hurt and pain and torment, and the emotion in the film is quite harrowing. The ending had me in tears. I was I was really quite struck by how powerful the ending was. And I mean, Ana de Armas, it really is a career-defining performance, and I think she proved a lot of people wrong, because I imagine some people were a bit like, oh, she's a bit of a weird choice, you know, the girl from No Time to Die playing Marilyn Monroe. I mean, she hadn't done many things before this. She'd done No Time to Die and Knives Out and Knock Knock and a couple of things, but no, I think now after this, Ana de Armas is firmly established, and she's gonna continue to have a great career, and she's clearly a popular actress. Considering No Time to Die, kind of her 5 minutes in that film made her even more of a star. So no wonder they got her for this film. But Blonde, I mean, there are certainly really dark elements to this film, like, and there's a lot of sex. There's definitely a lot of sex scenes. But if anything, Marilyn Monroe did have a life surrounded by sex. So, you know, it's not entirely untrue, the amount of sex that goes on in this film. Although there is one section where she does get involved into a three-way relationship, a threesome, which is kind of weird and certainly weird to watch. I mean, I know some people find sex scenes uncomfortable, but you know, and sometimes it's gratuitous, the amount they put in films and stuff. But for this film, it's kind of relevant. I can see why they did it, and I really liked Adrian Brody in it, and I think all of the cast do a really good job. Very well directed, and the parts of the film are in black and white, parts of it are in color. That's a little perplexing at times, but this is still a fantastic film, and it's on Netflix if you want to watch it. I cried my eyes out towards the end. So it's not for the faint-hearted. It is dark, it is depressing, but it's very interesting. And I certainly thought Ana de Armas proved herself, so I defend it on that basis. It was a fantastic film that really makes you think about Marilyn Monroe as a person and as an actress and the life she led. And it's actually, in a way, tragic. The most tragic thing was when she was so, not submissive, but so kind of prone to all these, male dominance in her life, and she felt like calling everyone daddy, That's almost kind of sad, really. But there was at least one guy, Adrian Brody's character, that did love her and did care for her. So that's nice. But anyway, moving on to number 2. Number 2 on my list, Glass Onion. Oh, Glass Onion is great. I love Glass Onion. This is fantastic. And it's now officially on Netflix, so watch it if you want. But I got to see it in the cinema for its 1 week release. I'm so disappointed that they couldn't have a longer cinema release. Or at least do like a byway release, released on Netflix as well as the cinema at a similar time. I mean, I know it's only a month later they put it on Netflix, but still, obviously Netflix bought the rights and stuff, but whatever. This film is fantastic. Daniel Craig is back, and he is great as Benoit Blanc. The accent is funny, And the humor in this film is just fantastic. I laughed throughout a lot of it. The mystery itself is very clever. Rian Johnson, he's a good writer. And say what you will about The Last Jedi. Everybody complains about The Last Jedi. But Rian Johnson, even if you don't like the direction that he takes his films, he knows what he wants to write. And he makes no apologies for that. And all the characters are very entertaining people to watch. And you really kind of see the character dynamics unfold when you discover the truth about this group of friends seemingly a group of friends who who are all kind of who all have very strong motives to hate Edward Norton's character. And as the story unfolds, it's really fascinating to see how that actually happens. And Rian Johnson directs the film very well. There's an all-star cast in it. They're all great fun to watch, and again, it's a fun time. Much like Knives Out, it has the sharpness, it has the wit, and Rian Johnson, he doesn't take it too seriously. He lets you have fun with it, and I think that in a way is testament to his skills and to the audience. He treats the audience with intelligence, but he also says, what, let's give them something fun. They come to be entertained, so let's do that. So I appreciate that, and that was the same case I felt with Knives Out as well. That it was clever, and it had a great mystery, but you can have fun and laugh at it. So it can be, sometimes the humor can be very sharp, can be very quick-witted, but it can be utterly ridiculous at times. There's even a part when Craig calls someone a jackass, and in the southern Texas accent as well. It's good. And yeah, no, and the setting and the location is just beautiful. The Greek island that they go to looks stunning. It definitely has a more grandiose feel than the first film. It definitely feels a bit bigger in scope and scale, and it feels a bit more stylish. Not that there is anything wrong with the first movie just being set in that mansion. That was fine. But this one, they definitely upped the ante production-wise. So they spent more money on it, and well, certainly I guess Netflix must have spent more money on it. So yeah, whoever did, great job, because it's a great movie. It really is. And I think it's just as good, if not even slightly better, than the first one. It's definitely on even keel. Not sure which one I prefer just yet, but they are both fantastic films. And this was easily going to make my list. There was no doubt that I was going to put this on my list. And I cannot recommend it enough. Go and watch it on Netflix. Have a good time. It's great. It really is. And I don't care that I paid for it. I was happy to pay for the privilege. And number one, the crowning jewel of this year, is Avatar: The Way of Water. Yeah, you knew this was going to be number one. This family is our fortress. And that's very much the story. Avatar: The Way of Water may not have the most in-depth narrative. It may be a simple story about a family trying to survive during a war on an alien planet and appreciating nature. But that's fine. Sometimes beauty lies in simplicity. And I don't honestly get the hate for the Avatar films. I mean, okay, if it's not for you, fair enough. I'm not forcing you to love it, but at least appreciate what Cameron is trying to do. He's trying to tell us all that we got to take better care of our planet. The whole thing is a metaphor for global warming. For both Avatar films. The first one, it's about protecting nature. The second one, it's about protecting the oceans and the marine life, and also family and what values most to you. Honestly, this film is it's just amazing. It looks fantastic. It's so beautiful. The emotion is powerful. The third act, the last hour of this film, is epic. The action scope is impressive, and the emotion. I mean, I cried. I cried at the end. I won't say what happens at the end if you haven't seen it, but it's, yeah, you really grow to care for this family, this family, the Sully family, I guess you could say, because if you remember Jake Sully from the first film, he's now a father, and he's got a family with his wife, and they're trying to survive in this world, and they have to leave their home and go to the oceans to do that, and then they learn the ways of the ocean, and we get to see some absolutely stunning visuals. I've never seen anything like this before, and 3D is back with a bang. I'm not saying, I'm not an advocate for 3D, but for Avatar, for all the Avatar films, if they're all going to be in 3D, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to buy a 3D Blu-ray, I'm not going to buy a 3D TV, but I will happily pay for the privilege to go and watch Avatar in 3D in the cinemas. I mean, it's just such a great experience. Like, it really is. And the emotion, and there's some beautiful scenes here, and the acting is fantastic. And it's definitely in a different league to the first one, visually and emotionally. Not that the first one isn't emotional, of course it is, but you know, at the very least, give Cameron the credit because he cares about what he's making. You know, you can see the guy is passionate about it. So I'll grant him that. I know the movie's long. It is over 3 hours. Perhaps that is quite long for some people. It's a bit too long, and I can understand that. And I won't lie, yes, the film is indulgent with its visuals. It does want you to kind of sit back and look at how good the film is. It does kind of show off the visuals when they get to the Metcaina Reef. There's certainly a lot of showing off going on there. So I can understand why some people said the film is indulgent. And the music is beautiful. And it's just such an epic film, you know. It's an epic film and it's emotionally driven. And sometimes you just need that. You know, it's a film you could probably just switch on and just enjoy the entertainment, enjoy the spectacle, and get wrapped up in the emotion. Once again, like the first movie, the world is so authentically designed, it's so beautiful that you just get sucked in. You just buy into it so easily. It sets up for what's to come. There are story elements that are unresolved, but that's fine because this is the first of 4 sequels, so they are leaving the door open on a few things in order for the rest of the movies to pick up the slack. So they have to overarch the story across what will now be 5 movies. And if all the films are going to be as good as this, then I'm down for it, you know. So, yeah, and I want to also give Harry Thomas a shout out because we went to watch it together and in 3D, and that was a very special experience. And I'll probably end up seeing it many more times. And after 13 years, Avatar is back, baby. So, that's it. That's my list of my top 5 favourite movies of this year. So, number 5 is Pinocchio from Guillermo del Toro. Number 4 is The Banshees of Sharon. Number 3 is Blonde. Number 2, Glass Onion. And number 1 is Avatar: The Way of Water. So tune in next time when I do my top 5 worst movies of 2022. So, until next time, I'm Pajak's Perspective. See ya.